Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Valentine Lister and this is my Major Arcana series. All right, in this video, we are going to cover the Justice card. And in this video, I'm going to tell you things that you can't just look up in any old book or whatever, like Google search. We are going to go deep into the secret symbolism in the cards, things you don't even know that are in the cards. I've been studying the cards like forever, and there were things I learned through my research for this video. So what I'm going to cover is going to include all of that secret symbolism, as well as the numerology, the astrology of the card, the astrological correspondence, as well as the upright meanings and the reversed meanings. So I'm going to show you 3 different versions of the cards, including the most popular Rider-Waite version, and I'm going to turn the camera over to the cards now. Okay, so the numerology of the card. All right, so if you look at the cards, you'll notice that there's numbers 11 here. Now, on the Way Home Tower version, there's a number 8, and that's also very common to switch 8 and 11 in the decks, and I'm going to explain why. So the number 11 represents the harmony between the warring parts of personality, because there's 2 ones here. There's a number of self, of asserting yourself, of manifestation, creation, but it adds up to the number 2, which represents harmony. So it can represent a new beginning that depends on the wisdom and the lessons learned from the past. And specifically, a new beginning based on what you learned from cards 1 through 10. Now, 11 represents the 11-year cycle to the sun called a solar cycle. And basically this means that the magnetic field flips. So the sun's north pole becomes the south pole, and the south pole becomes the north pole. And this cycle starts with nice weather, and then the sun's weather gets stormier and stormier until the poles flip. And so the sun usually represents life, the soul, like the solar energy. So the soul, that's the easiest way to remember. And so this is why some decks might be have flipped cards 8 and 11. So like in the Way Home Tarot, they switched the card Strength and they moved that to number 11, and they moved the Justice card to 8. And so remember that Strength represented the sun. It was like Leo. And so that's why it's associated there, because of like the solar energy in the Strength card. And 11 can be associated with the sun, the 11 solar cycles. So Justice in that case, because of that, would be moved to number 8 instead of 11. And so this conclusion isn't explicitly stated in any of the text. This specifically is just my theory, just based on my research and what I'm observing and the information that I learned about the solar cycles and the number 11. All right, so getting into the secret symbolism. Okay, so the person sitting right here in the Rider-Waite version of this tarot card is the virtue of Justice. So AKA, also known as Lady Justice, the goddess Justitia, or the goddess Themis. And she's sitting between the 2 pillars here that we saw in both the High Priestess and the Hierophant. And you'll notice their colors are different. They're gray here, not like in the High Priestess where they were black and white. But this is the color of wisdom because it's black and white, like mixed together. And then, according to Plato's Republic, lovers of wisdom and philosophers should rule because they rule based on what's good for us versus politicians who rule based on what we want. So that quote there is associating why you would have the color of wisdom associated with justice, and a little bit about justice. So this sword pointing upward represents that justice is swift and it's final. Swords are also associated with the suit of the mind, and here it shows mental clarity and serenity. Also, this sword is double-edged. All right, that means it's sharp on both sides. It shows that the action of justice cuts away as well as builds, and the false must be cut away from the true. All right, you'll see there's 3 turrets, 3 little things coming up on the crown, and that represents a person's soul. So these 3 things are supposed to represent reason, spirit, and desire. And this blue square here represents mental clarity, serenity, compassion, and purity during conflict. Because if you remember from past videos, the square represents conflict because the square represents Mars. All right, so the scales of gold down here, these scales are gold, and they represent balance, judgment, and weighing of evidence. So on one side, you'd have support for a case or a cause. On the other, it would represent the opposition to the case or the cause. And you'll notice in this card, right, that Lady Justice is not wearing a blindfold. If you see injustice on any of like, you know, in the United States, a lot of our state flags have Lady Justice on it, or our justice system has Lady Justice symbolism around the courthouse. She's blindfolded. But here she's not. Why? Okay, that's because the blindfold and justice is blind didn't become popular until the 1600s. All right, and get this. Prior to that time, her impartiality was implied due to her maidenly form. Because remember that tarot was created during the 1400s. All right, so I thought that was an interesting fact there. Okay, so the red robe, we're going to move on to this red robe here. It indicates life experience, and the green shawl represents growth. And then we have this white shoe poking out from underneath, and it's representing that purity is still underneath. All right, so we're going to go over to this light seer's variation of the card. Now, remember in the numerology section that I said this card is 11 is associated with finding harmony between the warring parts of personality. And this is a great representation of that. So we have the wisdom side below, and this like darker side here holds all of the wisdom of the experience, this person's experience from the past, and judgments of the situation. The top is more like, right, she's closing her eyes. Justice is blind. So she represents impartiality, purity, compassion, serenity, and mental balance. Okay, and on one side of the scale, it has white dots, and this is, I'm thinking, support for a case. And on the other side, there's these dark dots, and so I'm thinking they represent opposition for the case. And then we have this double-edged sword, a sword for justice, swift justice. And so this card, we see like wisdom from experience blended to create harmony, wisdom, and fair judgment. All right, so moving to the Way Home Tarot variation over here, I thought this was super cool when I was really looking deep at this card. So we have, it's very simple, right? Justice, simple, black and white. Let's cut to the chase, right? So we have white support and black for opposition. And then look here, we have these gray rocks representing wisdom and experience stacked up on each side of this scale for balanced judgment. And then if you actually look at the handle, I was like, what is this? We've got like a shape that represents lady parts, right? Or secret, like not secret, we all know what it is, but you know, like women's genitalia, it looks like. On the handle, which symbolizes like female anatomy, right? And so this is representing that that lady part, lady justice, right? This sword, it represents the female lady justice and the wisdom, you know, that even like women hold in their bodies, which I thought was really cool symbolism in this card. And so this is the swift sword of justice. All right, so going on to the color symbolism, it's important to get this, guys. I know I keep like mentioning this, but it's really important. Once you know these colors, like you can read a lot into the card just knowing the color symbolism. So we have gray here, especially in the mostly in the Rider-Waite version of this card. And that is representing wisdom, the mixing of black and white. And then we have this red robe representing desire, passion, vitality, and courage. Then the sword is light blue, which is cool because that actually represents compassion and purity, serenity, mental clarity, cutting to it. And we have like this light blue here, right? Like really compassion. Light blue is really a very compassionate color when it's in these cards. Then we have this shawl, which represents the healing, growth, fertility, and prosperity. We have yellow around here in the crown, on the scales, right? Like mostly over here. That represents the soul, the creative force, optimism, and enthusiasm. Over here, we have white. So we have, and the white represents purity, wholeness, and protection. On the left, sorry. And on the right, we have black, which represents power, the unconscious, banishing, and wisdom. And then we have a lot of brown tones here in the light seers version of the deck, and that represents grounding, permanence, and practicality side of justice. Okay, so the astrological correspondence. So if you know anything about which zodiac sign is represented by the scales, you'll know this. This card is represented by represents the zodiac sign of Libra. So interesting fact about Libra and justice is that first of all, Libra is associated, it's the time of year where it's the autumn equinox in this northern hemisphere. And it's when the amount of light and dark during the day is equal and of the same amount. So the seasons are balanced, just like justice is balanced, like the scales. And the writer Manilius, like back in the day, this famous philosophical writer wrote that, he's a famous astrologist. Sorry, he's a famous astrologist in the Hellenistic era. Through Hellenistic ancient astrology. And he wrote, or maybe he's medieval. Anyway, let me get on with this. Okay, so the writer Manilius claims that Roman judges were born under the sign of Libra. Okay, so I made a little card nickname for this card, and it's called The Terms of a Relationship. And you will know all about why I named this card the way it is if you saw my Major Arcana Made Easy video. And if you didn't, you better go watch it right now. Okay, well, actually, wait till I tell you the meanings of the cards and then go watch it. Because the reason, okay, is because we need to understand that the Major Arcana is a progression of a story of all of the major life things, the major journey of life, our spiritual journey, and everything is spiritual, right? And so in that video, I connect the cards through story so that you understand how all of the cards connect to each other, which is really important for understanding their meaning when you're reading the cards. So like I said, I linked that up there, but I'm also putting the video down in the description box below, the link to it. All right, so the upright meaning of the card. So if it's upright, it means your judgment is good. You will not be swayed by personal bias. Justice will be served. So it's also a call to create balance by looking at the situation beyond your emotions, right? And so some examples of what that might mean. It might mean, right, it could mean many different things. You have to look into your intuition, but it could mean lawsuits will be won or you're involved in a lawsuit. A desire for education with a well-balanced mind as the goal. Seeking justice in personal or business affairs. An indication to create harmony to facilitate relationships. Okay, and the reversed meaning. So if the card comes out reversed, it's gonna look like this. And it means that the energy is being blocked or avoided. And so it could be being blocked by you or someone else or just the universe for like whatever reason. But if it comes out reversed, it's going to look like this. Not everybody reads reversals. So if you do read them, that's what it means. The energy is blocked or avoided. But okay, the actual meaning though of the Justice card, if it's reversed, is don't be so harsh in your judgment to others. Don't be so hard on them, okay? It could mean that there's anger and hostility due to unfairness. It could also mean being too harsh to others when you are in power, you have some power and you're being too harsh. Or it could be resentment over being treated unfairly. So some examples could mean many things. Here's just to give you an idea. It could be delays in legal matters, injustice in legal affairs, injustice, inequality in relationships, whether personal or business, okay, legal complications, things along those lines. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this video on the Justice card. This is so much fun. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. And this is also a reminder to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified if you like this series and you want to catch the next card, which will be the Hanged Man. Also, I'm going to link a playlist to my Major Arcana series so that you can catch all of the cards that I've covered so far. All right, love you guys. Take care. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for whenever I release a new video every single week.